Hello 102ers and welcome to the last week of the first half of the class. After this one, it's all going to be moving downhill pretty quickly. Are you ready for that? Of course you are. Let's get to this. January and February were damned cold. March looks to be a little bit warmer and hopefully all that snow starts to melt. I personally have a bet going with a friend that we'll still have snow in our yards until at least St. Patrick's Day. So we'll see how that goes. Regardless, let's get started. Let's go with the academics, shall we? As always, here's the weekly announcement. Please make sure to read all the way through it. All the necessary information and links are right here for you to see. It should be posted clearly on the opening page of our class, as well as emailed to your Delaware Tech email address. There should be no excuses. Now, just so we're clear, I always like to point out the semester-long masterclass schedule over here on the right-hand side. So over here, we find it, we click on it, and boom, this page pops up. Honestly, at this point, everything's easy, right? We've already gone through Unit 1, we've already gone through Unit 2, and now here we are down in Unit 3, Week 7. Fantastic. We're starting Unit 3 this week. That means there's going to be a little bit more reading than the usual week, but it's building up your base and theory behind what's coming next. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things to look through, plus the vaunted Unit 3 argument research paper, directions, and sample PDF that I've given you for Unit 1 and Unit 2 as well. We have 2 assignments to complete, including the very important Unit 2 essay over here. And because I have a feeling that we will be doing a rather long video, I'm sorry, let's just get started. In what is an argumentative research paper? Here we go. It's your first document, which shows you, well, you guessed it, what an argumentative research paper really is. This is your biggie, folks. It's going to be by far worth the most points of anything this semester, and the first 2 papers built towards this. Now, it's not due for a while, but it's good to start thinking about it now. Once again, the details that you need are here, including this really cute little picture here of what the things should look like, but it really does nothing. I cannot believe they still include this, but it's pointless. Hey, look, there's your counter argument. Does it do anything? No. You just click on it, and there's your counter argument. So you can look at the sample research paper, which is actually a little bit more helpful down here. Shows you the requirements, what a title page should look like, and so forth. And this is great. You can download it here and look at it in a full PDF. And then you've got the requirements here to kind of tell you what each little section does. But, as I've always told you in Unit 1 and Unit 2, I can do it better. So here it is. You will get this on every single announcement for Unit 3. It's also in the Unit 3 learning materials. And as you can see here, it is indeed Unit 3. So, as we take a look at it, you'll see that the biggest change to this is we're moving from 3 to 4 pages in Unit 1 to 4 to 6 pages in Unit 2 to the mamma jamma 7 to 8 pages in Unit 3. Okay, remember, I want 7 pages minimum, not 6 pages in a paragraph, okay? After that, everything sort of falls into the same category. APA formatting, source material needed. I'll be looking for a minimum of 7 sources. You've already found 4, 2 in Unit 1 and 2 in Unit 2. So now you just have to find 3 additional sources. And I want you to only use third-person point of view. Avoid using first or second person. So no I, me, my, us, we, whatever. No second person forms of you, yours, yourself, okay? So that's good. The paper will be worth 25% of your final grade in this class. So this one needs to be focused upon because for the vast majority of you, it will mark the difference between passing and failing. Okay? So, here's what it's going to look like. You're going to have a single paragraph introduction. You can take your thesis statement from Unit 2, the end of the conclusion, and basically make that your thesis statement for Unit 3. Great, isn't it? Now, after that, we're going to have our background section. This is not going to be the same background section as you saw in Unit 2. So do not copy and paste that. The background section in Unit 3 is going to establish the controversy or context of your argument. It's got nothing to do with the source material, okay? It's got everything to do with the general understanding of your topic. So what is the issue at hand? What details do you have, okay? Then you're going to have your argument. It's going to be a minimum of 3 points using CSET format. You're going to have 3 reasons why you believe that your thesis statement is provable. And once you get through that, then you're going to have a minimum of 2 paragraphs for the counter-argument and the rebuttal. A minimum of 1 for each. Personally, I think you should have at least 2 of each, but college-wide minimum says 2 total. I'm telling you 2 per section. And then, of course, you will have your conclusions. So that's, for me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 10 paragraphs. That would make me happy, okay? And then, of course, down here on page 3, we start with the actual sample. And here it is. Everything you need, including headers and in-text citation examples. We have all manner of elements. We have 2 claims. We have 3 claims. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a curve. We have a 4th claim in here. There's nothing wrong with giving a 4th or a 5th or even a 6th claim if your argument needs it, okay? Then we get into the counter-argument. We see 2 paragraphs for the counter-argument. The rebuttal, we see 2 paragraphs for the rebuttal. Then we have our conclusion. And then we finish up with our references, everything that was listed in the document itself, okay? So, after seeing your future, you can find out what a classical argument is by going back here. Here it is. During the classical argument, there it is. Basically, it's a terrible page. I'll be honest with you. There are 2 pages that are going to explain the argumentation of it, but honestly, let me try to explain it. Honestly, an argument is not just 2 or more people yelling at each other. That's what we all have been taught to think while watching reality television, okay? An argument is a multiple perspective approach to a single topic. It also requires support for each side, or else we're looking at a simple assertion which becomes more the understanding of the argument that many of you have. I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. Then there's finger pointing, yelling, spitting, kicking over refrigerators, throwing garbage cans, throwing chairs, and so forth. That's what most people picture. But the argument itself features a few key elements that you need to know. An argument always begins with a thesis, the statement that can be proven true or false. Once that thesis is stated, then the person stating that thesis has to prove that thesis. It's not just a matter of saying, this is what I believe, so disprove me, because that's actually a logical fallacy known as burden of proof. Remember all those movies and TV shows you watched where the scenes took place in a courtroom? The prosecution has to prove their point. They cannot just state an idea and hope everyone else does the work for them. Same thing here. Once you state your thesis, you provide solid evidence to break down the thesis into smaller claims that you can use to prove the entire idea. You'll need at least 3 smaller claims to show how each side of the argument is, how one side of the argument is strong and the other side may not be as strong. Once you develop your side, you must be open to the possibility that your opponent, or the other side of the argument if you don't want to view this as an adversarial thing, has at least 1 or 2 good points of their own. So the counter-argument will be their opportunity to illustrate the opposing side to your thesis. Since you will not be team writing this paper, you will have to do both your argument and the counter-argument, which means you must be fair and complete with the opposing side. Additionally, you have to support the opposing side, which means showing how, in some cases, your side might actually be a bit weak. Once you go through the counter-argument, then you provide the rebuttal. This is where you can show your reader how the counter-argument, while possibly having a couple of good points on its own, is nowhere near strong enough to overwhelm your original argument. If it did, you actually might want to rethink about your original argument. So basically, whether you listen to my video or you watch these two videos, the basics of an argument are pretty much similar all throughout the world, and even throughout the last, few millennia. We haven't really thought about changing how arguments are done because it's worked so well since a few hundred years before Christ when it was formalized. Go figure. The next page is the qualities of a good research question. And honestly, it's probably one of my favorite pages made for this class because I don't really have any issues with it. In order to move forward with our paper, we need to have a solid direction for our research, which begins with our research question. So how do we create it? By looking at this page. You can get to it more in depth, but I want you to remember that a good question is not opinion, and a good question can actually be answered using solid research. If it cannot be answered, it's not a good topic for the time being. Once you think of it that way, you can glide through the process knowing that you have a solid base. So it's got to be answered in an objective way through research, okay? You can't ask a question that might actually be proven in several hundred years, okay? We're not going to exist then. A good research question can be answered using existing information. Again, don't go in the future. A good research question hasn't already been answered or hasn't been answered completely or hasn't been answered for your specific context. So you can't say, does smoking cause cancer? It does. We know that. You can't disprove something that's already been proven that many times. So as long as you pay attention to this and read through it, you should find that the second part of your homework should go relatively easily. All right, friends, getting close to the end. The next document is research questions and search tips. There it is. This shows you an easy step to move from your research questions to your claims that you can actually prove within your argument. It's not a simple loss of one or two words. There are a few shifts in thinking to worry about as well. So, why should violence against animals be illegal? Well, that's a research question. But we can't just say violence against animals should be illegal because we're missing something very important. We're missing something I like to call the because clause. Okay? Animal cruelty should be judged just as harshly as violence done against humans because animals can't speak up for themselves and require somebody stronger. Whatever you want to put down there, okay? What legal actions can be taken? Well, what is basically a closed question, right? Well, we can list off these laws. That's not a paper. So what legal actions can be taken against people who commit violence towards animals? There are various legal actions that can be taken against those who commit such violence, such as blah, 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 and blah. By having that as a claim, we're able to support the argument at that point. And you can look through and just try to find search terms. Like on EBSCOhost, it actually gives you subject terms over here. On SIRS, it actually gives you ideas that you can click on with the viewpoints, okay? So all of that material is pretty easy to find out what we need to locate for our research questions. Then we have our last one, thesis statements, writing, and importance. Here it is. It's a general review of everything you've ever learned about thesis statements over the course of your English language education. If I were you, I would look at these statements and kind of focus on the no-fault divorce or the job market ones because those are probably your two best. The no-fault, comparing an absolute divorce to a no-fault divorce is less expensive, promotes fairer settlements, and reflects a more realistic view of the causes for marital breakdown. Very clear. It's telling you, hey, I am going to espouse the idea of a no-fault divorce because. Great, there it is. Down here, in today's crumbling job market, a high school diploma is not significant enough education to land a stable, lucrative job. Okay, there's no because here, so don't really love it all that much, but you're stating it very clearly that, hey, because we need a higher degree, we're going to expect to see several things pointing this out. The other two, well, exposing children from an early age to the dangers of drug abuse is a sure method of preventing future drug addicts. How? Why? It's too vague. We need a lot stronger of a thesis statement here. And this one over here, the Shakespeare one, it's god-awful. This was written by someone who desperately wanted to appear smart and educated, but fell far short of the mark. Ignore it altogether. The rest of the page, well, it's kind of a review, okay? You've learned all about these statements in practically every stage of your education, so this is just something to get your brain remembering what you learned. If you had to narrow the page down to a single idea, well, I'd say this. A thesis must be supportable and specific, okay? That's not it. That's it. Supportable and specific. If you cannot support your ideas, they don't count. They are assertions. Assertions. And they won't work well for your argument. If your thesis, like the drug education one above, is just so all-encompassing that anything can fit in there, well, you know what? It's not really going to work. You're casting your net far too wide. The best way to write a thesis is to think about what you want to get across in your argument, and then to try your best to pull it in a third-person perspective rather than giving the old, I think, I feel, I believe statement. I don't know if I've told you this yet, but I don't care what you think. I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you believe. I care what you can prove. If you can't prove your idea, then they're simply assertions and aren't worth anyone's time. If you can provide evidence and support, then I'm all too happy to listen to you and see what you have to say. Whew, that was a lot. I knew this video would be a long one, so sorry. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we have two assignments, the Unit 2 paper and the building research questions for Unit 3. Easy, right? So, let's take a few minutes and review the Unit 2 comparative essay draft so you can kind of see exactly what I'm looking for. The link is already in your assignment for last week. It is there for you to take a look at. It is also in the learning materials for Unit 2. So you should have every access to this document. This paper is going to be 4 to 6 pages. You will have the two sources that you have already been using for the Unit 2 assignments. It'll be APA formatted. Third person will be written for the summaries and things like that. But first person, I, me, my, our, we, well, technically I, me, my. They can be used in the exploratory synthesis paragraph only. Do not use second person at all, any version of the word you. The introduction, the one thing I want you to notice is something that a lot of you online students skip. The last sentence of the introduction for the Unit 2 essay should be a synthesis question. Please make sure to give me a synthesis question, because that is very important. If you do not, I know that you weren't paying attention, okay? I also know who did and who didn't watch the video, so I'm going to see a lot of statements here. We're going to have the background section, which is basically the introduction of the two articles and a little bit of summary, a little bit of a purpose statement. I'm going to show you that in the sample in a minute. We're going to have the comparing perspectives section, which is going to be a minimum of 2 paragraphs. It will not be one big paragraph. It's got to be at least 2, okay? So take the argument question that you asked in the comparing author perspectives graphical organizer. You had 3 of them. Pick your 2 best, okay? And then your exploratory synthesis. That is the most important paragraph of the entire semester. Please, for the love of God Almighty, make sure that you treat it with respect. Give me a lot of detail. Give me a lot of information. Explain things in order for me to understand them. Don't just answer the what, answer the why behind the what, okay? So, how does your thinking go with this topic? How has it changed? How has it stayed the same? What kind of personal connections do you have? And again, if you have a personal connection to your topic that makes it a little bit awkward to write or to read. For example, maybe you're talking about sexual abuse or you're talking about drug addiction or something like that. You do not have to share anything that you do not want to share, okay? If you do, I will treat it very, very carefully. I will make sure that you and I are the only ones that read it, so you're safe. Then once we're done, we have our conclusion, okay? And there is our sample. This is what it should look like, just like this. And then here's our introduction. Please note there's no word introduction here. Here is our thesis, our synthesis question. Then we have our background information. Oh, Article 1, author, year, thesis. A little bit of a summary, purpose statement. Article 2, title, author, year, thesis. Here is a little bit of a summary. Here's the purpose. That's literally all I wanted out of that background information. Then we get into our comparing perspective section. Pick 2 of your points that you made in the organizer. Pick your strongest 2. And then, using CSET format, you're going to go through and explain, look, here is this claim right here. Here is the setup. Here is the evidence. Here is the tie-in. Another setup, more evidence, more tie-in. Another piece of setup, another evidence, more tie-in. There is more evidence, and then here is a huge tie-in. All of it's there. It explains the the claim very clearly, and that's what I want to see. It does the same thing in second argument point, except now we have this section, which is actually a long quote. A quote of 40 or more words must be formatted such as this, okay? And then we have our exploratory synthesis. Please note that this, look at that. It's beautiful. It's almost a full page long. You can say I. That's fine, okay? Then we have a very short conclusion. I personally did not write this essay. I do not like the conclusion. I'm hoping for a little bit more from you. Then we have our references. We need at least 2 references in our source because we have 2 sources that we're using. And here it is in alphabetical order. Sound good? Perfect. So as you go through it, just double check to make sure that you have all of the requirements complete. Everything you need is here, and then when you get to the bottom, you can submit it. Everybody will be happy. Then a shorter assignment, which many of you will forget because it's not the paper, is the Unit 3 Building Research Questions and Reasons. So clicking on that will take us to here, and it kind of shows you a sample response. Do not use this. I actually have a sample for you to take a look at, which you can link right down here. Download a copy of the sample. What's it look like? Why, it looks just like this. Now, I added a few additional prompts to the original assignment so that you can have most of your information in the same place. Just be detailed in your answers. If you can keep in mind that you're focusing on your topic, the ideas will be clean and clear to you than if you had just quickly wrote down a couple of words to simply finish the assignment. So, I do not expect you to highlight these, but for some reason, people still try to type in the gray boxes. Type in the white boxes. What are the white boxes? These. Like, literally, they're white. Please, for the love of God, type in the white boxes. It makes it easier to read. So, here we go. As you can see, just fill out the white spaces with your text. Use this sample. I'm asking for your thesis question. You've already generated it for the Unit 2 essay, so just copy and paste it in here, okay? Then, give me 4 research questions that you asked as you were doing research on your topic and thesis. Avoid general questions and avoid questions which generate brief answers that will not stimulate the conversation. These provided spaces will grow and shrink as you type, the white spaces, okay? So here are 4 examples of research questions that I wrote for my topic of cybersecurity and global relations. Then, tell me the tentative position on your topic. Tentative means to start. It will change, it may change, it can change, it doesn't have to change. So basically, I'm telling you that, hey, I think that everybody in the world should get together and say, we need to have a worldwide consortium of cyber terrorist experts rather than each country doing their own thing, okay? That's my tentative position. And why do I believe that? Well, I believe my position in the argument is strong because, boom, 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 boom. I want 4. Don't write, because I have statistics, because my information is up to date. No. No, 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 no. Look at mine. Look at the details I put into it. The internet is omnipresent, and there are no virtual borders to hold criminals to local exploitation. It's not just, I have good sources. No, I have examples. I have details. I have explanations, okay? And then, understanding my audience. It's very easy. Who's your audience? Well, for the most part, it's me, your teacher. However, when you get into your presentation in Unit 4, it's going to be the other people in your class. So why don't you think of all of us at the same time, okay? So, that is the sample that you can go through and see what it looks like before going back here and filling it out correctly by using the white spaces here. Okay? Don't just type it in these different places. White spaces. They're going to be very helpful, okay? This assignment is very small compared to the paper that you have to submit this week as well. So if you're watching this on Sunday night, I have a feeling that you're dropping a few bad words, realizing there's another thing to do. Sorry, you should have planned ahead. And that's the gist, kids. I know it was a long one. It's going to clock in at just under 27 minutes. But it's a new unit, so there's a lot of material. Also, I went over 2 sample papers and another assignment. So there you go. Feel free to reach out, but please do so at the beginning of the week, and don't be offended if I ask if you've watched the video yet. Until then, good luck and have a great week. See ya.